Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to the inaugural episode of the Critics Corner here on BevCam. My name is Charles KIWACZ. I will be your weekly host. You can call me Chuck. And what I'm looking to bring to you guys every week is basically the pop culture pulse. I'm going to be bringing you movie reviews, TV reviews, Comic-Con coverage, celebrity interviews, all the greatest casting news and movie news out there in Hollywood today. And this is going to be our first episode. So I just wanted to get to know you, the audience, and let you get to know me and how we're going to be setting things up here. So what I hope to bring you guys is literally just the Hollywood heartbeat. I want you to know what's going on in Hollywood, what's new with movies and TV, and what you should spend your hard-earned money on at the theaters. So we try to rank our movies here on a three-based system. We either tell you that we love it to go see it in theaters, we tell you to skip it, or we tell you to rent it, Redbox it, however you got to get it these days. We also do different segments, like I said, such as our TV reviews, which is where we're going to be starting today. So I want to welcome you to our first review, which is tonight we're going to be looking at the mini-series, The People vs. O.J. Simpson American Crime Story. Now, this 10-part series was put together by the creators of American Horror Story and encompasses the entire storyline of the famed 1994-1995 O.J. Simpson trial. Now, I want to state, first of all, the creators of this show did an amazing job structuring it. I find with most 10-part miniseries released on Netflix and things like that, that there tend to be 2 to 3 episodes along the way that all in all you just didn't really need. They were just there to fill time and fluff. Whereas the exact opposite happened with The People vs. O.J. Simpson. I had actually wished they had extended it to maybe 13 episodes. There was a lot more that I wish I had gotten to see. But that being said, the people there really structured together an amazing program. We'll start here with the casting. First off, they cast Courtney B. Vance as famed attorney Johnny Cochran, which I feel could not have been more spot on. Those of you that will recognize him from his work as assistant district attorney on earlier seasons of Law & Order note that he's got the courtroom experience and the acting chops to be able to pull it off, which I thought he delivered head to toe. And then we move on with the real hero of this show, Sarah Paulson, who portrayed Marcia Clark in the show. Now, what many people don't realize is that this series was actually filming at the exact same time American Horror Story Hotel was. So Sarah Paulson was pulling double duty 20-hour days, where she would go from playing hypodermic Sally on American Horror Story, be rushed across the lot, put into 4 hours more of makeup to be turned into Marcia Clark, and have to go portray her in the courtroom. So the structure of this series was pretty much set up in the events of the trial. Now, the O.J. trial was one of those moments that I feel anybody that lived through it, it's a JFK moment, it's a 9/11 moment. It's one of those things you'll always remember where you were when the Bronco chase happened. I remember I was 10 years old watching Fraggle Rock on HBO when they broke in with the Bronco chase. And that's kind of where the show picks up. They take you from the murder to the Bronco chase, through the jury selection, through the trial, the 18 months of turmoil, through the discovery of the Mark Furman tapes, eventually into closing arguments, then the jury deliberation and the verdict. Now, as I said, this was structured very well over the course of 10 episodes, and one of the amazing things that I found was the acting and the story was so gripping over the course of this series that I found myself enthralled, even though I knew the outcome. I followed this trial as a young kid. I remember watching it glued to the TV, and very few things in life where I know the outcome will I ever be interested in. I never liked Titanic, never got anything like that, but even though I knew how this story would play out, to see it from this perspective was very enthralling and captivating. You couldn't really look away. We looked forward to every Tuesday night that this show aired. Now, the other casting that I want to bring out was David Schwimmer cast as Robert Kardashian. I had not known much about him. I was too young for that, and my despise for the Kardashians will be discussed at length at other times throughout this show, I'm sure. But one of the great things I found about him was the sense of friendship that he had with O.J. and how close it was to actually seeing him from being O.J.'s hardest defender at first to at the end of it knowing that his friend had committed this crime and still having to defend him, which I think to seeing that turn was very emotional and very gripping. And that was something that this show captured great, the emotion in this show from both sides of seeing how non-public figures like Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden were forced into the spotlight, and then people like Johnny Cochran and that just thrived in it and loved it. Johnny Cochran was a circus leader throughout the course of this show, and I think that's really one of the ways that this trial was won. If there's one thing that you could take away from this miniseries, it is really how the power of suggestion can overwhelm people's sense of evidence. There was literally so much evidence presented in this trial, from blood evidence, DNA evidence, witnesses, and the defense never addressed those. They decided we were going to throw out random theories, see what stuck, and run a smear campaign against Mark Fuhrman. Granted, the Fuhrman tapes were ridiculous. By no means would anyone ever defend him, but to make that the mainstream of a murder trial, which I feel was just too much of a distraction, and it really goes to show you, I think that the jury, from being sequestered for so long, we're talking 1995, people. This is pre-internet. This is pre-digital age. There's no Twitter. There's no Facebook. There's no checking in. These people were not allowed to see their families except for monitored phone calls and conjugal visits. So after 18 months of that, you have to just be built up and fed up with it. So maybe it was a revenge verdict. I don't know personally that I could be in that seat and be given that much evidence, and anything but guilty would ever come to my mind. But it was great to see how it happened and see how each side portrayed their case and how each side sweated it, not knowing how this was going to play out, and what turned out to be the true trial of a century. We've never seen anything like it. We've seen Casey Anthony, we've seen Robert Beretta, we've seen these types of trials, but nothing will ever match the true media circus. It was not only the dawn of the internet age coming, it was the dawn of the 24-hour news cycle, which is something we had never been used to. And you see how that factored in to the stress levels and how Johnny Cochran played the media and got the NAACP involved. And this is a fresh after the Rodney King riots too, where LA was truly, truly terrified of riots happening again, and Johnny Cochran almost seemed to be inciting that at some points throughout this show. The one con that I will knock is that we didn't get to see Kato Kaelin, which I feel he was a humorous character the way that they portrayed him in the small bits that he was in the show, but his testimony, I always found him to be like the weird stoner neighbor that no one quite knew why OJ was friends with him. And then the other one that I will try to say is that John Travolta, I feel like he really didn't come through in this series. He portrayed himself more as like a whiny Hot Topic employee than an A-list lawyer, which is something that I could have done without. But that's a very small hole in an otherwise flawless show. So those of you that haven't seen it yet, I'm not spoiling anything. These are historical events that happened 20 years ago. So spoiler alert, he gets away with it. But I highly recommend that you check it out. It's available now on demand. It'll be out shortly on DVD. But this is something definitely everybody should watch. It's a great crime thriller. It's basically a 10-hour version of Law and Order, which I really love. But to see it from every perspective, the jury, the prosecution, the defense, the judge, the cops involved, Mark Fuhrman, from the public's point of view, the protesters out there, they really all encompass this in a 10-part series, which I would find hard to do, especially for the fact that, as I said, most series tend to lag in a couple episodes here. But strong all the way around, had a huge finale. It was great. I will advise you there's some strong language, so this isn't something that I would advise anybody under 13 to watch. But if you're looking to just recap that time and look at the OJ trial from a perspective that you've never seen it, we here at TV Tonight, we're definitely going to recommend this one. So for tonight's TV Tonight segment, The People versus OJ Simpson, American Crime Story, we are going to give this one a double thumbs up. Watch this one wherever you can, whether it's on demand, online, or on DVD. And be sure to check out next week's TV Tonight segments, where we'll be going over the Flash and Supergirl crossover as well. So next, we're going to be taking you out to the Super Mega Fest Comic-Con show, and we'll be giving you our all-encompassing spoiler review of Batman vs. Superman. So stay tuned here on the inaugural episode of Critics Corner, and we'll be back. Hey everybody, it's Chuck with Chuck's Movie Minute and the Nerdorama Network, coming to you live from Northeast Comic Con. Now I'm sitting here with a personal friend and a fan favorite from our pages, Dan Dufault, the owner of DD Studio Art, and pleasure to interview him today. Dan, thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Chuck.
Absolutely. So Dan, as you can tell from the magnificent art behind us, is one of the featured artists here at Northeast Comic Con. Now Dan, how long have you been painting?
I've been painting, Chuck, since I was 6 years old. I've been doing popular culture artwork and cover work and so forth for about the better part of 15 years now.
Okay, now what would you say spun you into the superhero nerd realm that we see? So
honestly, personal favorites and preference, but also it's when I go out and talk to customers and clients of mine, the artwork that they're asking for, the characters that they want to see. I try to stay true to the essence of those characters, and I think it comes through in the artwork, and people love it.
Absolutely. Now, Dan, this is, I believe, the 4th con that I've met you at, and I've seen how big of a part of your operation that your family is. Does it help to have their support and see how enthusiastic they are about coming here and helping put your artwork on display?
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, I'm a lucky guy. My family is just as much a geek about this kind of stuff as I am. And like I said, hopefully that comes through in the work, that they're happy to be a part of it. We enjoy coming out to the cons. We do everything from San Diego to New York and Boston and back, and so it's a huge help to have them be a part of it.
Absolutely. Now I see the wide selection that you have of all your different work here. Now how do you choose where you're going to go next? What's next for you? What can we expect for the next cons in 2016?
Absolutely. I'm a really lucky guy. Some of the stuff that's really popular right now out there in pop culture, Star Wars and the Batman realm and the Avengers realm, all stuff that I really like to do. Those are the things that the customers are really pushing me for. Some of the things that you might expect, for example, from DC with the popularity of Arrow and the Flash. As you know, I have a Zoom piece coming.
Absolutely.
There are a couple of other of the secondary characters from the Flash series that I have coming. Black Canary from Arrow, those kinds of things. People like to see not only the lead characters but also the supporting cast, and I try to make the fans happy.
Absolutely. Now it seems like in your last trip to Florida, you linked up with a new company that's going to be promoting your artwork, putting it on some new media, T-shirts, mugs, things like that. So tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my friends and partners now at C&B Entertainment, they'll be representing my work nationwide going into 2016. Doing some interesting things. As you said, fans not only do they want to hang it on their walls, but they want to wear it on their shirts. They want to have it in mugs and experience and enjoy the art in other ways. So yeah, C&B Entertainment, lots of announcements coming up in the next month or so around that.
Now, Dan, we love your artwork, and we own many pieces of it. What I love about your art is the realism. Is that something that you specifically try to craft? Is it just your style? I mean, look at some of the detail on these pieces. What is it that drives you to be so intricate with your pieces?
Sure, yeah. So it's, again, it's really personal style. So I kind of let what is appealing to me come through in the artwork. I tend to be a detail guy. I appreciate the nuances of characters. And as I said, I really try to capture the essence of the character and have that expressed through the work. And for my money, that really comes through in the detail.
Absolutely. Now, you do a lot of these cons. I've seen your schedule. You go nationwide. So what would you say is the best and worst part of the con circuit?
The best and worst part. So certainly the logistics of moving your operation from coast to coast is definitely not the easiest thing. But the best part is really getting to meet people from around the country that love your artwork. You know, going out to Anaheim or Los Angeles, California, and having somebody say, "Hey, I saw you on Facebook and I really love your stuff." You know, from the other side of the country. I have customers now from all over the world thanks to social media and sites like yours. Customers from Australia, from Europe, from South America, etc. that love the work. So that's the best part, is getting out there talking to people that appreciate what you do.
All right, now next big plans in 2016, working with this gallery. What can we expect from you next? Where can we find your work? How can fans get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can find my work at ddstudioart.com. You can certainly find me on Facebook through your site. I know we're going to have some links up there. In terms of what's next, like I said, all of the more popular series and content that you see coming out now from Marvel, from Disney, from Star Wars, etc. There's a lot of new work coming out around that, a lot of excitement around those properties. So you'll see those coming out at the beginning of the year. The Zoom piece that I mentioned to you, that'll be out in a couple of weeks, so look for that one next.
Wait for that. Now, just want to get your chance out there. Here's your minute. You know, pitch yourself to the fans. Let us know what you want to tell us about yourselves. If there's anything that you want the fans to know, we can edit this however that you like. But yeah, just here's a minute. Sell yourself.
So, in terms of what I really appreciate about being an independent artist is that independence offering me the opportunity to be able to respond directly to you, the fans, right? To be able to draw for people and draw characters in ways that are again, in line with the essence of the character, but also in response to how fans kind of want to see the characters portrayed. And so that's why I kind of keep doing what I'm doing. It's what drives me. Like I said, it's my own kind of geek nature, but also just being able to put work out there, people appreciate it, and respond directly.
Now, Dan, when we spoke yesterday, we had talked about how you don't really hang your own art on your walls, but you do have a favorite piece, I believe, that's hanging in your home. Tell us about that.
I do have a favorite piece that is hanging in my head. It's the only piece that hangs in my studio. It's just, I don't know if it's being humble or what, but my favorite piece is the Flash. So all of the work that I have out at shows that, as you see them this year, is my 2015 work. The Flash just came out a few months ago, and as I said, I love to capture the essence of a character in a painting, and to be able to do that in two-dimensional static format is not always the easiest thing. You want the essence of the character to come through, and you want that excitement and that dynamism to come through. And for me, it just happened with the Flash, and some of that comes across in how the character is portrayed physically, but also the pose and the lighting, and as all that comes together. And I just love this one. And he's quickly become a bestseller by far and away.
Totally understandable. It's by far our favorite piece. We have them hanging at home. Now, Dan, I have to just get this on camera so people will believe me.
Oh, no.
How did you come about the pose for the reverse flash?
The reverse flash. Flash, thanks to my friend Chuck. When he first came across the Flash piece, he loved the Flash piece, which I of course appreciated. He said, but Dan, you have to draw the Reverse Flash. I said, Chuck, I'm actually thinking about doing that. And he said, oh, you have to draw him coming right at the Flash and head to head. So that's what we did, and sure enough, he is now a best-selling companion piece to the Flash.
Love it. Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
Look
Chuck.
for the article, look for the links, and everybody be sure to check the links below. We'll have everything to Dan's page. Check the written article, and be sure to check everything out on nerdoramanetwork.com as always. Dan, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your con. We look forward to seeing you guys back later tonight, guys. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's segment of the Movie Minute. Now here at Chuck's Movie Minute, we're going to be taking a look at the best movies out there in theaters weekly and telling you whether you should skip them, see them, or rent them when they come out. Now this week's movie that we're going to be taking a look at is Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now I do want to warn you, normally we don't do spoiler reviews here, but for this one I'm going to advise you, if you haven't seen the movie, please turn away. Now the reason I feel I need to insert some spoilers is that many of you must have heard that this movie has received the definition of mixed reviews. Many people have loved it, many people have hated on it, and critics especially have widely panned it. Now, I consider myself a true DC Comics fan, and that being said, I'm also a movie critic as my daily job. So I've seen this movie 3 times now. I went once as a fan, once as a critic, and once as both. And now is my chance to explain to you my true thoughts on this movie and why I feel it doesn't deserve the widespread criticism that it's received. Now first off, let's start with the competition, because that's what everything is being held up to. These days, every superhero movie released, no matter the studio, will be compared to a Marvel film. Marvel has become the monopoly in this day and age when it comes to the superhero film, and for good reason. They make great movies, they do them well, they make great money, and they attract huge audiences. That being said, DC is 10 years behind them in the game. They feel like they needed to get in there right away, which is why this movie was entitled Dawn of Justice, to set up the Justice League, the DC's version of the Avengers. Now, those who noticed that Marvel films were connected. Iron Man tied into Thor, Thor tied into Captain America, Captain America tied into the Hulk tied into the Avengers, and they all came together. That is what DC tried to do here, but rather than make 5 individual movies and bring their team together, they wanted to intro the members now and then give them their solo movies. Kind of a reverse order, whereas here in DC we're going to be starting with the Justice League and moving to standalone films. Marvel did standalone films and moved to their Avengers. So you can't knock something for just being different, first of all. That being said, Marvel also enjoys the audience that they do because they market to the childish market. Marvel, as much as I love those movies, will always be known as campy. By that I mean that there's never a real sense of danger. You feel like everybody's going to make it out, and anybody that dies never really dies. They always come back. There's some alien technology. There was a body clone. There was nothing that ever truly put anybody in any real danger. That being said, they claim that that's going to change with Civil War, but we'll see. So we're only holding this to the candle that exists now. Marvel is a great alternative for the family superhero movie. DC is choosing to go with a dark, grittier, more grounded tone. This is more of what would happen in a real world if an alien from another planet suddenly showed up and started fighting. First off, there would be massive destruction in our cities if people with these types of powers actually existed. Secondly, the government would most certainly consider him a threat and involve themselves right away. And thirdly, he would be a topic of international controversy and discussion. This is where the movie picks up. After the events of Man of Steel, which we get to see from the perspective of Bruce Wayne at the beginning of this movie, the destruction of Metropolis was great to see from his perspective. But those who widely criticized Man of Steel for its destruction and loss of life were left speechless when that turned out to be the main breaking point of this movie. Superman is immediately held responsible by Congress and governing bodies for the destruction caused in Metropolis. He's lost part of the public. People consider him a false god. And more importantly, this is Batman's driving factor into what causes the Batman vs. Superman that we see in the title. So this movie begins, as I said, with the flashback to what happens when we were first introduced to the Superman. Then, through a series of smaller plot points, we're led to find out that Clark Kent, working for the Daily Planet, is trying to investigate the Bat Vigilante, otherwise known as Batman in Gotham. He feels that no one man should be entitled to be the judge, jury, and executioner, and also notes that this man seems to be encouraged by the police. Disdained from his boss, Lawrence Fishburne, playing Perry White, he decides to investigate as himself and Superman, whereas Batman has secretly been plotting this entire time to take Superman down. With the help of Lex Luthor discovering kryptonite, which Batman breaks in and steals, we are slowly set up for the events of the finale. Now, what also must be said, in a smaller side point, Lex Luthor manipulates Congress into getting himself access to the crashed Kryptonian ships from Man of Steel, as well as General Zod's dead body, which he uses to create the comic character known as Doomsday, who will factor in later in the movie. So we're left with Batman creating weapons out of kryptonite, a kryptonite mist grenade, and more importantly, a kryptonite spear. Over the course of this, he meets a young woman named Diana Prince, who appears to steal information that Bruce is trying to steal, claiming that there's a photograph of her that belongs to her, and she needs to retrieve it. So, over the course of this, he is slowly shown that she is Diana Prince, and this is where we are introduced to the cameos of the other Justice League from what was stolen at LexCorp. We see a clip at a convenience store of a young Barry Allen moving at super speed to stop a robbery. We see another video of an underwater wreck where a young man swims out from underneath, and we find that it's Aquaman in all his armored glory. He destroys the cameras and takes off at super speed. We're shown another video of a man barely alive, just a torso strapped to a board, where a mother box slowly takes over and builds him into the hero known that we will see as Cyborg. And then we're shown the Batman Nightmare Dream sequence, where Batman envisions a world where Superman's gone bad and taken over. There's a lot of foreshadowing here as to what we'll see in the Justice League movie, as we're shown the Omega symbol of Darkseid and the parademons, which were known to be his minions. But more importantly, after Batman awakes from this, is the true Flash cameo we've all been waiting to see, where Barry Allen, appearing to emerge from the Speed Force, warns Bruce of a timeline in which Superman turns bad, but it appears he's come too soon. He warns Bruce that he must find the Justice League, therefore motivating Bruce to find these metahumans and assemble the team that we'll see in Justice League Part 1, which has just begun filming. Now here's where we build up to the climactic finale of this movie. Where Batman vs. Superman have their fight, Lex Luthor has Superman's mom captive and tells him that he's either to kill Batman and bring him his head, or his mother will die. This is Superman's driving factor, whereas Batman's driving factor is wanting to eliminate what he considers to be humanity's greatest threat. Now, the graphics, the effects, everything in this fight was everything that you wanted to see. The DC and fan loved it. We loved seeing Zack Snyder bring a comic book to life, to see the Frank Miller influences, to see the Jeff Johns influences, to see everything that was brought to life during this fight was amazing. And then we are revealed to see Doomsday, Lex Luthor's creation, which is where our heroes come together. This is where Batman and Superman are forced to see that they can work together, to see that there is a greater threat to humanity. And this is also where we're introduced to a fully armored, fully powered Wonder Woman, who truly did steal the show in this movie. But over the course of the climactic battle, Doomsday continues to destroy more and more of the city. And knowing that he must sacrifice himself in order to save the greater good, Superman, in one of the most noble things, and anybody that's read the Death of Superman storyline knows, he flies at Doomsday with everything he's got, and the kryptonite spear that Batman crafted takes him through the heart and is impaled by Doomsday, and both of them fall limp and dead to the earth. Now, the movie ends sad, on a sad note. This is not the Marvel, everybody's going to make it, everybody's going to come out okay. You've seen the hero, Superman, the man that no one thought could fall, dead on the ground, Lois Lane, devastated. And then we're taken to the funeral in Smallville, where Bruce Wayne, Diana Prince, Lois Lane, and Martha Kent, Barry Clark, Superman dead, all hope seeming lost. And this is where Batman swears to Diana Prince that they must find the other members of what will be known as the Justice League, and they make a promise that they will not fail Superman in life, as they have failed him in death, as they have failed him in life. Now, this is one of the best moments of the movie to me, where Lois Lane throws a small amount of dirt on the grave as she walks away from her dead lover. And then we begin to see the dirt slowly levitate, as it did for those who've seen Man of Steel, in the scene where Clark flies for the first time and puts his hand down on the dirt, and it slowly begins to levitate. We see that great scene saying that Superman is not quite dead, that we will see him again, and it's been confirmed that Henry Cavill will be in Justice League. So fear not, Superman is not dead. But one of the main reasons I felt I needed to go over this movie in depth was to show you it had heart. It had storyline, it had plot development, it had character development, and more importantly, it introduced us to the wider DC universe, which is what we're going to be seeing in Justice League and Suicide Squad and Shazam and The Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman and Wonder Woman. All I'm saying is give DC a chance. This was the beginning of their marvelous movie Meatloaf. Anybody that's made a meatloaf, you wouldn't want to eat what you look at in the bowl, the raw eggs, the beef, the raw vegetables. That's what this movie was. This was the ingredients being thrown in the bowl and being started to be mixed together. And what we'll see in Justice League is that movie go in the oven. And when Justice League Part 2 arrives, we'll see a fully formed, fully put together meatloaf of the DC universe. And we will see truly what they have in store. So I'm begging you people, give this movie a chance, give it a shot, and see it more than once. Once you see this movie a second time, you notice little things, you pick up more of the story, more of the heart, and more importantly, watch the R-rated Ultimate Edition when it's released in July. There will be an R-rated cut of this movie, which is 30 minutes longer and guaranteed to fill in many of the plot points people feel had too many holes or they just couldn't get themselves through. We'll see Jenna Malone's portrayal of Batgirl, we'll see more into the death of the Jason Todd Robin, and we'll see more of Superman's final fight with Doomsday. So that being said, I cannot stress enough how much I love this movie, how much I beg you to go see it, and how much I beg you to ignore the critics. Everybody's got a different opinion. Many people are based on the Marvel storyline, and anybody's going to hold this to the candle of Marvel, and they are apples and oranges in the truest sense of the word. You cannot compare them. Different characters, different hearts, different storylines, different motivations. As much as people may think a comic book movie is a comic book movie, Deadpool proved us wrong. The Avengers proved us wrong. Ant-Man proved us wrong. DC has been dominating in the television universe. You'll love our weekly reviews of The Flash, of Arrow, and of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. But what we need to see is DC make their presence known in the film universe, and this is what I feel they did with this movie. So those of you that were skeptical, watch the movie. Those of you that loved it, welcome to my team. And those of you that hated it, tell us why. Comment on our YouTube page. Comment on our Facebook page. I want feedback from the fans. This is one of the things that we're going to love to see of this show. We're going to take you through the best in movies, in TV, in pop culture, in movie news, in casting news, and everything. We want your feedback. Tell us, how can we make the show better? If you disagree with us, tell us. If you agree with us, tell us. We're here. We want to know, and we want to make a show that's going to be great for the public. That being said, I love Batman vs. Superman. I felt I needed to take a moment in my inaugural episode to defend it and explain why I thought it was a great movie. I hope that you agree, and if you don't, I'm sorry. But that being said, this week's edition of Movie Minute, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, must see it. 2 thumbs up. We love it. Now stay tuned. We're going to have some con coverage coming to you from Super Mega Fest this weekend in Marlboro. And as always, check us out live online at nerdramanetwork.tv or on Facebook at Chuck's Movie Minute. We look forward to seeing you guys here each and every week, and we thank you for taking the time to sit with us and go over Chuck's Movie Minute, TV Tonight, and the Comic Connection in this week's episode of The Critics Corner. Hopefully we'll see you next week, guys. Have a great one.